Since 2010 Word, Microsoft have made the table creation in the program much easier. Most of it is preset. So to build a table in Word, you go to the Insert ribbon and click on the Table button, and this will drop down a flyout menu, and you can see you can quickly design the size of your table just by moving your mouse over these little squares to decide how many rows and columns you actually want drawn. Now, although you can do this manually by choosing the option Insert Table, this is a much more convenient way. Remember, if there are not enough columns or rows in here to suit your needs, you can always add or remove them afterwards. So on here, let's say for example I wanted to create a 3 column by 2 rows. We click on that and you'll see it's drawn the table in here. It's now put my cursor flashing in the first cell. Now we call these boxes of a table cells, and you can click in these. If you're familiar with Excel, then you'll be familiar with a cell. If we click in the first one, we can type to create our table content. So we might put name as a title. We can hit the tab key on the keyboard, which will jump us over to the next column, and type maybe what department they're in, and then tab again and type their extension number. When you hit the tab key again, now if you're not familiar with tab on the keyboard, it's just above the caps lock key on the far left of your keyboard. If you hit tab again, it will automatically come down to the next row of your table. You can then type in a name, tab again, type which department, tab again, and type their extension number. Now if I need to do another row by hitting the tab key, when it gets to the end of a table, it will automatically add a new row for you. So you can then type another name, another department, and another number. Hit tab again and we can do another one. And hit tab again. Once we've done that, we can carry on adding more rows and columns. If we want to add another column, we can do so just by clicking where we want the column to go. Now, first of all, if I wanted to put a new column in front of this first column here, I just click anywhere in this column, and if you look up on your ribbon bars, you'll have a couple of new ribbons. There's one called Table Design, one called Layout. Depending which version of Word you're using, you may have 3 new ribbons, or they might be called slightly different, Design and Layout. So if we look at the Layout, you'll notice there's a cluster of buttons here that allow you to insert columns and rows very quickly. If I choose this button, Insert a column to the left, it puts a new column to the left. If I was clicked in this column here, and I can just click in any one of those cells in the column and then choose to insert a column to the right. If I ever need to delete a column, maybe this first one, I just click in that column. Look up on your Layout ribbon bar, there's a button called Delete, and it asks you, do you want to delete the cells, the columns, the rows, or the entire table? So we'll delete columns. And we can do the same with this one here. Click in that column and choose to delete that column. Adding rows is exactly the same. You can resize this by stretching the table, and you can grab hold of the little handle down in the bottom right, and that will allow you to stretch the table. You can also adjust the width of columns, again using your mouse. Hover over the border between the two columns, you get a double-headed arrow. You can click and just stretch the columns left or right, so you're just dragging these with your left mouse button held down. And we can do the same here. You can do the same for rows. If I wanted to alter the height of this first row, I move my cursor between rows 1 and 2. You get a double-headed arrow, click and drag. I can make that bigger. Now if I do make that bigger, we can now look at the formatting options we have. For example, here I might want all of these titles in the middle, not only horizontally but vertically. Now because I want to do all three, I'm just going to click and drag my cursor across all three. Once again, looking up on your layout ribbon, almost everything you do to manipulate a table is done up here. If you look in the alignment section, you've got this little cluster of buttons. If you look at the pictures, it tells you what it's going to do. For example, I might want to click this one, which is the align bottom left. You'll notice those titles align to the bottom left, or the bottom right, or maybe the top right. But this one in the middle is to align the center, and that will put both of them in there. If I do want to change the font size, there's nothing stopping me from going back to my home ribbon and increasing the font size as you would normally. And I can even turn on bold. In terms of the look, the colours and the borders, you can take advantage of those that are in the table design ribbon. And you can see here you've got table styles, and Microsoft have given you some preset styles that you can choose just by clicking on any of these, and there you can see you've got the formatting applied automatically. Once you've finished designing your table, you can move the table around just by grabbing this little handle in the top left corner, and you can move those around. Other things you can do with a table is, for example, you can merge cells together. For example, these 3 cells at the bottom, I want them to become one long one. So if I drag my mouse across the 3 cells to highlight them, going back to my layout ribbon, and you'll see there is a button up here called Merge Cells. You'll now see that if I click in here, it merges all 3 cells, and I can type in there, all departments must report to line manager. Once again, if I want that centered, I can choose my alignment button to center that. We can create some fancy layout styles by adding a new column to the beginning. If I click anywhere in the first column and add to the right this column, I then might want to highlight by dragging my mouse all the way down all of those cells and merge them. That makes them into one. I can then type a title, and I then want to turn the text around. So looking up on my ribbon bar layout, you have this text direction, and I can rotate the text around. I can then reduce the size of this particular column here like so. If you decide to change the style, then back in table design and choose a different style from the heading.